It was just past 8 a.m. when the elevator doors opened on the ground floor of Langley and Meyer Law Associates. The lobby was already humming, suits moving briskly across polished marble, coffees in hand, earbuds in, avoiding eye contact. A man in dark gray coveralls stepped out, pushing a mop bucket. His name tag read Andre. Nobody looked twice. A young associate brushed past him, eyes on her phone. The receptionist glanced up, then quickly back at her monitor. Andre walked slowly, deliberately, mop wheels squeaking as he passed the glass conference room on the right, where a group of partners were already seated, voices low but tense. Andre didn't rush. He moved toward the maintenance closet at the end of the hallway, pausing once to pick up a napkin someone had dropped near the break room. A junior partner, Jared, leaned against the doorway, sipping his protein shake. "You missed a spot," Jared called out, nodding toward the coffee spill near the vending machine. Andre turned, eyes steady, said nothing, just nodded once and wheeled over. He bent down slowly, not because he had to, but because he was watching. Tomorrow, everything in that building would shift. But today, Andre was just the janitor, just the man no one really saw. Jared was still leaning in the break room doorway when he noticed the cleaning guy typing something into his phone. He smirked. Tweeting about floor wax? Andre didn't look up, just slid the phone back into his pocket and kept wiping. Behind them, the front desk buzzed with a soft chime. Another employee badge scan. Carla, the office manager, stepped out from the elevator, juggling a tote bag and a lukewarm smoothie. She barely acknowledged Andre, but she nodded toward Jared. "There's a firm-wide email you should read," she told him. "Policy updates." Jared groaned. "More compliance junk?" Carla shrugged. "Just read it. There's something about new oversight procedures. Finance department's been flagged or something." Andre finished cleaning the spill and headed back toward the closet. On the way, he passed a tablet mounted on the wall showing the internal company newsletter. A headline flashed briefly, "Executive Oversight, New Measures to Begin This Week." Nobody in the hallway noticed. Behind the janitor's calm eyes, behind the worn uniform and the mop, something was already in motion. They just didn't know he had written that policy himself. Tomorrow they would. In the partners' conference room, the meeting was wrapping up. Martin Langley, senior partner and co-founder, was folding his reading glasses into their case when he spotted movement through the glass. Andre walking past. "Still haven't replaced that third-party cleaning crew?" he muttered. The younger partner beside him, Aaron, looked confused. "That's Andre. He's been around for months." Langley waved a hand. Yeah, just saying. You'd think with the money we're billing, we could at least get someone who doesn't look like he's on break from county jail." No one responded. Erin's lips tightened. She glanced at the glass door, but Andre was already gone. Langley stood, buttoned his blazer. "Anyway, the oversight audit is just a PR stunt. Whoever they send in will get the same PowerPoint we give every year." Someone laughed. Jared, from the break room earlier, had just entered. "As long as they don't ask to see the real books." Langley smirked. "They won't. They never do." Down the hall, Andre stepped into a storage room. The door clicked shut behind him. Inside, the walls were lined with tools and janitorial supplies. But in the corner, behind a locked cabinet, sat a small laptop. He pulled it out, logged in. On the screen was the full internal audit plan, and under Review Authority was one name, Andre Ellison. They didn't read the email. They didn't read the signature. They thought he was maintenance. They were wrong. At 10:43 a.m., Andre stepped into the elevator with two associates he'd seen a dozen times, but who never once spoke to him. This time was no different. They paused their conversation as he entered, one of them inching slightly away, subtly pulling her designer coat from touching his uniform. The other pressed the button for the 14th floor, the executive level, then leaned back, thumbs tapping on his phone. Andre stood silently. Floor 7. The doors opened. A third person entered. Mira, the firm's general counsel. She glanced at Andre, blinked, then looked again, just a fraction longer than expected. She said nothing, but she nodded. Andre returned it, barely. The two associates noticed but didn't ask. The elevator dinged again, floor 14. The doors opened to a sleek, glass-lined hallway. The two associates exited. Andre stayed. Mira didn't move either. As the doors closed, she turned to him. "They don't know, do they?" Andre looked at her, expression flat. "Not yet." Mira exhaled slowly. You sure you want to do it this way? Andre didn't answer at first. Then quietly, they built a system that sees people like me as invisible. I want them to see it crack from the inside. The elevator began to climb again, past the executive floor, toward the restricted admin level. Only a few badges could get that high. Andre had one of them. Outside conference room C, Jared was laughing loudly at something on his phone. A meme, probably. One of the paralegals walked by, trying not to look irritated. Inside, the firm's HR team was setting up for a mandatory compliance session. Some grumbled. Others sipped coffee already checked out. At the head of the table, a small black nameplate had been placed. Andre Ellison, Director, Internal Oversight. Jared walked in, scanned the room, and burst out laughing. Who put the janitor's name on the table? Is this some kind of DEI prank? No one answered. Sarah, the compliance manager, looked at him flatly. You should sit. Jared dropped into a chair, still grinning. What, we giving out mop awards now? The door opened. Andre walked in. Same uniform, same quiet steps. But this time he carried a laptop. And he didn't stop at the back of the room. He walked to the front, set his laptop down, opened it, and sat behind the nameplate. For the first time, the room fell completely silent. Andre looked up at Jared. Their eyes met. Jared's grin faltered. Good morning, Andre said, calm and clear. Let's begin. The projector screen lit up behind Andre with the firm's logo and the title. Langley and Meyer. Internal audit findings and compliance gaps. No preamble. No joke. Just a sharp slide that landed hard. Jared's chair creaked as he shifted. Sarah crossed her arms. A few others glanced at each other, confused, waiting for someone, anyone, to explain what was going on. Andre didn't rush. He clicked to the next slide. A pie chart showing unreported vendor payments. Slide after slide followed, missing documentation, duplicate invoices, abnormal billing patterns tied to executive accounts. This data, Andre said, was gathered over the last 6 months. I've been auditing this firm internally since March. No one moved. I was brought in by the board after anonymous complaints flagged irregularities. As Director of Internal Oversight, I've been working quietly, observing practices and evaluating conduct. Someone finally spoke, Darla from HR. Wait, Director, when were you? Andre held up a hand, not rudely. Just enough. I was introduced in the firm-wide policy email last week. I signed the memo. Page 2, bottom left. Jared stared at the screen. His face had gone pale. Andre clicked again. The next slide had screenshots of messages, sloppy jokes in firm group chats, casual insults directed at staff assumed to be lower level. Andre didn't look angry. He looked calm, measured, like he'd waited for this, like he knew they needed to see it like this all at once. The janitor hadn't disappeared. He'd just changed where he stood. Silence stretched across the room. No one looked at each other anymore. Andre clicked again. Another slide appeared, this time a list of names. Names connected to compliance violations, flagged behavior, or audit anomalies. Jared's name was third. He shifted again, muttered, "This is ridiculous." Andre looked up. "Which part?" Jared scoffed. "This whole thing. You're not even, look, I don't know what kind of stunt this is, but you're in a janitor's uniform." Andre nodded slowly. "I am." He stood up, walked around to the front of the table. "Would you have listened if I came in a suit? Or would you have smiled, shaken my hand, and gone right back to the same behavior the moment I left the room?" No response. Andre let the quiet thicken. "Let me ask you something," he said, voice even. "How many of you have seen me in this building before?" Hands went halfway up. A few nodded hesitantly. "And how many of you said anything beyond, 'Watch your cart,' or 'You missed a spot'?" No hands this time. Andre's tone didn't change. "I've been here nearly every weekday for 4 months. I've sat in break rooms, walked your halls, listened to how this office breathes when no one thinks they're being watched." He looked at Jared. "At what point did you decide I didn't matter?" No answer. And that silence said more than anything they could have said aloud. Jared leaned back, arms crossed. "So what now? You're gonna fire us? Public shaming? Cancel culture in coveralls?" He laughed once, alone. Andre didn't respond right away. He walked slowly back to the table, sat down again. "No one's being fired today." He paused, letting the room exhale. "But we're going to talk about culture, about the difference between legal compliance and ethical behavior." The screen behind him changed. An email thread, heavily redacted but with enough left visible to show contempt for lower-level staff and dismissive attitudes toward junior hires. Not illegal, just revealing. "I'm not here to punish anyone," Andre said. "But I am here to hold a mirror up. What you see and how you respond to it, that's on you." A few eyes dropped to the table. Sarah, who had been silent until now, spoke. "What's the board saying about all this?" Andre looked at her. "They approved the audit. They approved me. They've seen the data. They're giving this office one chance to correct itself internally before outside measures are considered." Jared muttered something under his breath. No one asked what. Andre leaned forward slightly. "This isn't about me. It's about what kind of workplace you want this to be, and whether you're ready to face what's been ignored." The screen went dark. Andre closed the laptop. No one stood. No one left. For the first time, it wasn't about the man in the uniform. It was about them. The room stayed quiet long after the screen went black. Someone cleared their throat. A paper cup crinkled as it was slowly crushed. Finally, from near the back, Aaron, the youngest partner, spoke, voice barely above a whisper. I think I owe you an apology." Heads turned. Even Jared. Andre didn't blink. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "But you might owe one to the people you didn't see." Aaron nodded slowly. "You're right. I've sat in meetings where people said things they shouldn't have. I didn't laugh, but I didn't say anything either." Andre didn't nod or offer reassurance. He just listened. "That's the part I've been thinking about since you walked in," Aaron added. "The silence. My silence." Jared scoffed. "Oh, please, don't turn this into a group therapy session." Aaron turned to him, not angry, just tired. "Maybe it should be. We made this normal, and it's not." Sarah looked over too. "It hasn't been normal. We've just been too comfortable to question it." Andre sat still, hands folded. "I don't need confessions," he said finally. "What I need is for people in this room to remember what today felt like. Not because I embarrassed you, but because you got a chance to see your reflection before someone else did." No one replied. But the room had shifted. Something had cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough to let the light in. Word spread quickly. By lunchtime, whispers moved through the halls. "Did you hear about the janitor? He's not the janitor. He's the one running the audit." On the 14th floor, two senior partners stood behind the frosted glass of their office, watching Andre walk through the corridor below. "I don't like surprises," one muttered. The other shrugged. "We signed off on it. The board made the call. He's making people nervous. He's supposed to." Downstairs, Andre paused outside the HR office. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, he could hear Carla and another admin whispering. "He was just mopping last week." "I know. I told him where to refill his cart." He didn't say a word. Andre knocked gently and stepped in. The room froze. He didn't smile, didn't try to soften the moment. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone," he said. "But this office will be part of the change too." Carla stood slowly. "Of course." Andre looked at her for a moment longer. Then, when someone treats a person like they're disposable, like they're beneath attention, that's not just a personal flaw. That's policy failure. Carla nodded, eyes down. "We'll start reviewing hiring and training protocols today." Andre turned to leave, then paused. "Start by reviewing how you speak to the people who empty your trash cans." And then he walked out. No anger, just the weight of truth, left hanging in the room. That afternoon, Jared sat alone in his office, door half closed, phone face down. He hadn't said a word since the meeting ended. His inbox was flooded, follow-ups from compliance, a forwarded note from the board, a reminder about revised oversight protocols. But he wasn't reading any of them. He was staring at a printed copy of the internal email, the one he hadn't bothered to read last week. The one with Andre's name clearly listed at the bottom. Director, Internal Oversight. He read it again, then again. His face, once flushed with smugness, now looked drawn. Not from fear of being fired. He knew the firm rarely made sudden moves, but from something less familiar. Reflection. He thought about the coffee spill he made that morning, the one Andre had cleaned without a word. Thought about the joke he made loud enough for others to hear. He thought about the tone he used, the assumption behind his laugh, the way he'd said, "You missed a spot," like it was clever. None of it had been clever. Jared stood slowly, walked to the door, then stopped. He didn't open it. Instead, he sat back down, took out a pen, and for the first time in years, wrote something on paper. At the top, he wrote, "What I thought I knew," then underlined it. The rest of the page stayed blank, for now. But it was a start. Downstairs, near the firm's reception, a small boy sat on the waiting bench, swinging his legs, a coloring book open on his lap. He was the receptionist's son. School was closed for teacher training, and she had no other childcare. No one had paid much attention to him except Andre. On his way back from HR, Andre slowed when he saw the boy, crouched beside the bench without asking permission, just calmly watching him color. "What are you working on?" Andre asked. The boy looked up. "A rocket ship," he said. "But I don't know what the inside looks like." Andre smiled. "Most people don't. That's where the real work happens." The boy studied him for a second. "Are you a janitor?" Andre paused. "Sometimes," he said. "But not today." The boy nodded. It made sense to him. "Do you get to tell people what to do?" Andre tilted his head. "Only if they forget how to treat people." The boy went quiet, coloring again. Then, quietly, "Some people here don't say hi to my mom." Andre looked toward the front desk. The receptionist was on a call, her voice low, tired. He nodded once. "That's something we'll fix." The boy didn't look up. He just kept coloring, careful now, as if the inside of the rocket mattered more than ever. Late in the afternoon, Andre stepped into the elevator alone. No suit, no laptop, just the same gray coveralls, same quiet presence. He hit the button for the ground floor. As the doors began to close, a hand stopped them. Erin, the young partner, slipped in, breath a little rushed. "Hey," she said, uncertain. Andre nodded once. They rode in silence for a few seconds. Then Erin spoke again. "I stayed after the meeting, read every slide, went back and reread the policies too. I didn't realize how much we let slide here." Andre didn't answer. She hesitated. "You could have walked in here wearing a $1,000 suit, shouted your title, but you didn't." "I wanted to see who everyone was when they thought no one important was watching," he said. "And what did you see?" Andre looked at her. "More silence than malice. That's harder to fix." She nodded, eyes down. When the doors opened on the lobby, she stepped aside to let him out first. He didn't move. "You go ahead," he said gently. "People expect you to be in front." She stepped out, then turned. "And you?" "I'll still be here," he said, even when they stopped noticing again. And then the doors closed, leaving Erin standing there, her reflection caught in the glass, realizing that maybe being seen wasn't the same as being understood. That evening, the office thinned out. Most had gone home. A few lingered in corners, quieter than usual. Whispers had been replaced by stillness. In the janitor's closet, now known by a few to be something more, Andre sat on a stool eating a sandwich. No laptop, no slides, just a quiet end to the day. Mira knocked once before entering. She didn't sit, just leaned against the doorframe. "You made an impact today," she said. Andre chewed slowly, then wiped his hands. "I didn't want spectacle, just awareness." Mira nodded. "They're shaken. They needed to be." She didn't argue. Then added, "Langley asked if you were going to make a formal report." Andre shook his head. "I already did. It wasn't for paper." He looked at her. It was for the moment someone like Jared walks past a temp or a janitor and actually sees them. Mira studied him for a moment. "You ever regret doing it this way?" Andre looked around the small, dusty room, then at his own hands, clean, still steady. "No." He stood, gathering his things. They needed to see what they never look at, and now they can't unsee it. Mira stepped aside to let him pass. Outside the door, the hallway was empty, but the silence felt different now. Less ignorance, more thinking. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the pavement as Andre stepped out of the building. He didn't rush. No phone in hand, no briefcase, just quiet footsteps down the street. Behind him, the Langley and Meyer Tower still stood tall, but something inside it had shifted. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to start. A security guard nodded as Andre passed. "Have a good night, sir." Andre nodded back. "You too." A city bus hissed to a stop across the street. People boarded. A man in a food service uniform held the door for a woman pushing a stroller. Andre watched, then kept walking. Near the corner, a teenage girl was sweeping the sidewalk in front of a coffee shop. She looked up, caught his eye. He gave her a small nod. She smiled. It wasn't about power, not about titles or suits. It was about that moment, when someone who'd been invisible is seen, fully, and without question. Andre turned down a side street. Less traffic. More quiet. The kind of quiet that follows truth. He didn't need applause. He didn't want revenge. He just wanted the people in that building to carry today with them. In their posture. In their choices. In their silence when it finally broke. Because now they knew. And knowing meant they couldn't go back. Not really. Not after him. Not after today.